I think we all mire ourselves in the garbage every once in a while. And sometimes we look back in our lives, there was a lot of garbage points, but God is able to kind of grab us from the garbage.
And if we do more reflecting in light of God instead of in light of our own suffering.
You can say, looking up to Jesus takes away your suffering. We are in the world, but we are not of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And being a Christian, you're already a target. Like if you're a true Christian, considering what's happening now with Islamism and all that going on. But I still believe that if you look up to Jesus, you're not going to suffer.
So my wife is actually the first one to break down the walls that I had built up to God. She's the first person in my life that I saw love selflessly without wanting anything in return. And that was, like, for lack of better words, that was weird to me. Too many people, but too many people are bothered by it. And I think that's why we don't do things.
Yeah, honestly, I had one guy who, something about people in the grave, like the wealthiest places, people in the grave. Because they have things that they want to do they never tried.
So what you're saying is it's because they don't take risks and dangerous risks. Mm-hmm. They live longer?
No.
They have all this unactualized potential.
Exactly. There you go. Unactualized potentials. Mm-hmm. So, and people like to play it safe, not trying something at all, and die with it. And maybe if they tried, you would have made something meaningful in life.
Okay.
But just because they are scared of failure, they don't even try at all. So
you were saying it has to do with wealth?
I mean, wealth doesn't have to do with
not money.
Not money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not items. They're not buried with their items. They're buried with potential.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's the point.
So you're saying there's a lot of wealthy people. Because you're saying the wealth is the unactualized potential.
Yeah. Wealth is not just financial gains.
No, I'd agree with that. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that statement, though. So you would say people who have used their potential are actually poor.
No. Get it right. Like, let's say
get it right. Let's get great.
Yeah. So you understand it, right? I just couldn't put it in words. Like, let's say, three of us now, we wake up every day with ideas. True or false? Like I do, I don't know.
True.
Yeah. And sometimes you overanalyze the idea because you think you might fail, right? And then you don't even try it.
Okay.
What if you tried it and then you're successful doing it?
Yeah.
Next day you wake up with another idea, you don't even try it. Mm-hmm. And then you keep growing old. Mm-hmm. Just because you don't want to take the risk. And then you keep growing old, one day you die.
Okay.
You're dying with all those ideas you never tried out.
But how is that? How would you be wealthy in the grave if
you're not wealthy, but it's the wealthiest. Like, that's what I'm saying. I couldn't put it in words. Like, people, like when you go to the graveyard, there's a lot of unactualized dreams.
Okay.
There's a parable.
Yes. Okay, I can see that.
The parable of talent, right? One guy was afraid to lose it, and so he buries it and doesn't grow in interest. And the other guy goes and,
Exactly.
What you're saying is you go to the graveyard and people who are in that graveyard, collectively, they're wealthy in their ideas that they are buried with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say that again.
Collectively speaking, when you go to a graveyard, there's a lot of wealth there because there's a lot of ideas that died with these people.
Exactly. Let me make it scarier for you. Like if you go to the grave and tell everybody in the grave to get up and talk to you what they would have done that they never did.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised what they will tell you. They will be like, man, I should have done this. Yeah. I had this idea, but I never did it.
Yeah.
Does that send chills up your spine now?
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe not scared, but it is a chilling thought.
I'm one of those guys though. Like if I have an idea, I'm gonna do it.
See, Joe is not thinking about it because you don't know that a lot of people are struggling with it. Yeah. Because you're built like that. Like you're on the go all the time. But,
it's a problem.
And it's easy for you, but you don't know that a lot of people are struggling. Mm-hmm. Like they overanalyze it and they're scared and they won't even try it because they don't want to be, fail doing it.
Mm-hmm. No, I can see that. Yeah.
And that's exactly what Scott was saying about the parable of the talent. How the master gave one 3 talents, 2 talents, 1 talent. And then the guy that was given 1 talent buried it because he felt it was too small. But the guy that had
he was afraid to lose it.
Double.
Yeah.
So we have to use our talents.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Go ahead and introduce Scott here. Scott is here today, and
we're already on. We're actually on again, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we're on already. Like
this whole conversation was already recorded.
Yeah.
So Scott is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
We've known each other now for about, I think, 5 years, and now we're colleagues. We work together at the same place, St. Mary Catholic Central.
Yeah.
I'm the campus minister. He's the assistant principal, the assistant dean. Yeah. He's the guy you go to when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But he's also a great man, and I think even just today, I was hearing of a kid who was kind of in trouble, and but the things that Scott had to say were really good. So he's the perfect man for the position. Just but merciful, godly, virtuous, right? So yeah, that's who Scott is.
Welcome, Scott. You're not introducing Scott to me, you're introducing to our viewers.
Yeah, I know, you're right. Yeah. Well, yeah, you kind of already know.
Scott turned friend, I also think with everything you have as a Christian and as a father too, I think your voice will keep those kids up there.
Yes, yeah. I think being a father in that position certainly helps Scott do well. I think he has a lot of good fatherly wisdom to pass on to those kids.
I don't have to raise my voice very often.
Yeah, that voice, man. Tell me, how is it with the kids, man?
My kids are the kids at school.
The kids over there, yeah. Like how?
I mean, I'm only in my first year, but I really like it a lot. We don't deal with a lot of the same disrespect issues that I've been reading about other schools struggling with. We have kids with tons of potential. Nobody seems to be ostracized because we're a smaller school. So like if you're an artist, you can also be an athlete. If you're academic, you can also be an artist. There's a great blend with our students. And obviously being a faith-based school, being a Catholic school, I, as a dean, can bring virtue into discipline issues when they do come up, which makes it much easier. So
I was about to say that will make it much easier for you, because when you're talking on the standpoint of being a Christian, and then people won't feel like you were like judging them or being too strict. Does that mean that Christians are more strict than non-Christians?
Well, I would say, to that question, I would say Christians should be more strict. We're held to a higher standard, right? Yeah. So we should be more strict, but we should also be more merciful, which is kind of, those seem like opposite sides of the coin, but they actually are the same coin, right? If we're doing rules right, we should also be doing mercy right as well.
Yeah.
But there was something I was going to say there, but I kind of already forgot.
Yeah.
Creating an environment with rules, not just arbitrarily, but creating an environment where kids can thrive and see God in a meaningful way, and explore who they are as a person in a meaningful way.
Yeah, without rules or standards or expectations, there is no freedom. There's only slavery.
Yeah, it's interesting how with rules, then you have freedom. And people think freedom is when you don't have rules. It's crazy. Yeah, it's very crazy. Yeah. But what do you think, looking at the world today, being a father, and he was in the military, right?
Yes, yeah, that's why we brought him on, right?
Yeah. Man, it's a wonderful, like, what would I call it? Like,
a combination of things.
Yeah. Being a father, being in the military, and then
being the assistant principal, right?
Yeah. You're well grounded, man. That's impressive. How do you see your life as a military guy? You're still not in the military right now.
Oh no, I'm a veteran. How do I see my life today? In light of my military service, or
what actually spurred you into? Were you a Christian before?
There we go. Okay, so let me tell you.
I know you were very faithful.
For sure. And we just had a retreat at school, and I got to share bits and pieces of my story a little bit. I would say no, in the sense of what does it mean to be a Christian? I was not trying to be Christ-like. I was baptized at a young age. But in a Baptist church where it's like the believer's baptism, I didn't really know what I was getting into and all this stuff. I preface this by saying, like, me and my dad have reconciled now, and I have a great relationship with my dad, but my dad had left us, and he's the one that introduced me to the faith. And so at a young age, I was like, this is dumb. I'm done. Like, if this is what Christianity is, you've abandoned us, you haven't sacrificed anything. What does love actually mean? And I was done with it. If this is God's form of sacrifice and love, then I'm good.
And I think, your experience, even though it should be less experienced, I think that is a common trait of a lot of Christian kids, is they grow up with people who are very flawed, who commit very awful things in their childhood, and then they turn back from Christianity altogether. And that's why, having a faithful father is so important. I think that's the primary issue, I think, within the church right now amongst the youngest generations, is that they see their adults operating around them like hypocrites. Yeah. So if we could do a better job of that as adults, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
We need strong men, strong, faithful men. Yeah, absolutely.
That points out to, because I was at the church for the Mike's homily, was exactly what we're saying now, was what he talked about. How, how we blame the kids today. We believe that the kids today are like deviants. But the problem is that the parents are not doing what they're supposed to do. Even when it seems like they're living a godly life, but they are not practicing it. It's not enough to go to church, but you have to live it out.
Yeah.
You have to lead them to prayer. You have to teach them how to pray. When they're listening to you talking to your wife in the bedroom, what are you saying? What kind of movies do you watch? All those things speaks louder than just going to church. Yeah, it can't just be a Sunday kind of faith or a 1 hour a week kind of faith. It's got to be continuous, and obviously we're all going to fail at that. If it's a continuous faith, because we're all sinners. But like, we've got to try, because if we don't try, our kids end up basically practical atheists. They might be Catholic in name. They might claim Catholicism as their faith, but they actually just behave just like the rest of society.
Yeah, the faith is more of an intellectual ascent than a transformation.
So I guess going back to your story, Scott, so would you say that, and I know parts of your story, would you say that going into the military was an escape from your teenage years, the years that you...
In a lot of ways, yeah. So my teenage years were chaos because I didn't have a dad in the home. And so I did whatever I want. And that freedom that I had was not actual freedom. It was chaos. So I almost didn't graduate high school. I had no options going in for college or for anything, even in the workforce. In the small town I lived in, we were very poor. And so I went in the military. So I'd love to say, like, I joined the military, this super patriotic love for country, sacrifice, but it wasn't at first. But after I joined, I really did feel a sense of I'm a part of something bigger than myself. Even though I didn't have the faith aspect at that time, it felt virtuous. It felt good. Yeah,
I think I remember hearing, I don't know if it was you or someone else who spoke at Cairo, said something along the lines of, God can do great things with things you don't want to do, or things that you think I'm just doing because of whatever, but God can work through those experiences. Kind of flipping it a little bit on its head, Chill, we've talked a little bit about the military in Nigeria. Would you say that in Nigeria, guys are like Scott, like they get in the military because they want to escape something, or is it patriotic, or is it something else?
Nigeria is a different ball game, Here, everybody has everything, to an extent. Whereas in Nigeria, it's just opportunity. I don't think most of the military guys in Nigeria are like patriotic. They are not. I'm sorry to say it if you're a Nigerian watching me. But I've seen a lot of things that military dudes do to people in Nigeria. You will wonder, like, are you really protecting these guys? I bet you've seen things like that. I know a man who lost one of his eyes just because he was beaten up by a military guy. And once you're up against military, you are up against, I don't want to say God, but it's almost like that. Because you're not going to say, you can't fight against them.
Yeah.
You're not going to take your case to the court.
Yeah.
They're going to win you. You don't even have a case.
So what you're saying here is they abuse their power. I don't get the sense that, would you say that the American military abuses their power here in the United States? Because like you're talking about the military in Nigeria and your personal experiences as a citizen of Nigeria in the country. I don't get the sense that.
In my experience, no.
Yeah, correct. It can happen.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, I don't.
As long as I've been here, for all I care, they are well respected.
Mm-hmm. They are here.
Being very intimidating. Like, a funny story with that. My stepdad actually got in trouble with the military. He said, when I went to court, I realized I lost because I saw Michael Campisi versus the United States Army. It's like, oh no, you're in trouble. You're in trouble, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when you see yourself in a court docket like that, it's over. There's no one to beat the Army. So going back to your story, Scott, so you entered the military. It was a kind of way to escape kind of the teenage problems that you had. You said that once you got in, you're like, okay, actually, there's a brotherhood here that's worthwhile. Can you speak to that brotherhood, what that was like? What kind of led to that brotherhood?
The best way that I can describe it, and I've experienced there and at the seminary when I was taking classes at Sacred Heart, you have men in a common bond of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So you're willing, when you sign up, we don't have a draft right now, you willingly sign up knowing that you could be asked to give your life. And so
give your life.
To give your life, yeah, to sacrifice your life. And everyone that you're fighting alongside of or training alongside of or suffering alongside of has also signed that same document and taken that same oath.
Hold on, you guys signed a document to give your life?
Yeah.
So, like, bringing it to the faith is almost like, what Jesus Christ did.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was just thinking, yeah. Yeah, because...
Greater love has no man, right?
Yeah. Lay down your life for the people you love.
Or even those you don't love, right?
Those you don't love, because you don't love everybody.
And I compare it to the seminary because when I was in class, I loved being with the seminarians and knowing they've sacrificed a wife and kids. They've sacrificed, for lack of better words, a normal life for the sake of others, to help others find union with God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, man.
Yeah, I was just up at the cathedral in Detroit. We had a couple kids who became full members of the church through confirmation through the bishop up there. And Stephen Netter, who's a local guy, who's a seminarian, he's becoming a priest probably in several years. He's a SMCC grad as well. And just seeing him on the altar, and I was contemplating that same thing. Like, he has given up everything. Like, SMCC prepares you for a great career beyond school. It prepares you for so many things, athletically perhaps, but he's put all that aside and he's becoming a priest. And I would say SMCC prepared him for that moment as well. But just from that mindset, like, he gave up everything that, we could want or desire as an American.
Yeah.
But he gave it up for something much greater, much greater. And you talked about brotherhood and how it's easy to be part of a brotherhood when you know that the person next to you is going to sacrifice for you, right? And I think the same is true of our faith, right? We have a God who gave up everything. So it's easy if we truly believe he did that for us to be part of that brotherhood with him. I would never call Jesus my brother. I think
he calls us his brother.
You're right. He might call me, but maybe that's interesting for me to contemplate because I don't feel comfortable calling him my brother. I can see him calling me brother, but I don't think I would ever, because he's Lord and God and he did that for me. And I know that I'm so much lesser than what he did.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that.
Himself though. Go ahead.
I understand what you're struggling with, because if you go deeper, it goes to the Trinity, trying to explain the Trinity. But the truth is that if you're a believer in Christ and you also believe in the blood he shed on the cross of Calvary, it means that you are co-heirs. He calls us co-heirs. So if you're co-heirs with the Father, it means that he's our brother too, although he's our God. But if you try to explain it even more, then you're going into the Holy Trinity.
I'm not going to name any other names too. And the reason maybe I have a hang up too about calling Jesus brother is I've been to liberal places for church. Yeah. And I've heard that expression, they like to call Jesus a brother. And
the use of a thing does not negate the proper use of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right about that. So yeah, I would just struggle. But going back to this idea of brotherhood, it's easy. It's easy if you believe that Jesus truly died for you, and he did. He did to be his brother.
Yeah, for sure.
And to be part of that brotherhood. So I guess going back to the military stuff, what about the military when you first entered really surprised you as a teenager? Because you were 19.
I was 17.
You were 17.
My parents had a sign.
Is it legal to be 17 and go?
Oh, I think that's why his parents
had a sign for me to go. Yeah.
Normal age.
It's 18.
Oh, 18. Oh, that's cool.
So, as a teenager entering the military, what was most surprising to you or shocking to you when you first entered?
We talked about brotherhood, but honestly, the initial shock of loneliness. Because they do a really good job. They do a really good job of breaking you down to nothing to build you back up as a cohesive unit. And so the initial shock of, I have nothing. You come with a backpack, but they take your backpack as soon as you get there. You have no civilian clothes. They give you everything that you'll own for the next however long. So yeah, the initial shock was just the loneliness, I think.
Wow.
Okay. I didn't reflect on that until years later, but
even though you're with like hundreds of guys,
there's people all around you.
Loneliness is crazy.
Loneliness in the crowd, right? Loneliness in a crowd of people that you have no idea who they are, where they're from, and you're trying to get to understand them, but you're like, oh man, how do I interact in this really crazy situation that's completely foreign to me?
Without showing weakness that the drill sergeant is going to use against you, But
correct. Huh.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that statement you just made there, that book I just gave you the other day about, I think the title of the book is I Loved You in the Night by it's a priest. I think it's Paul Murphy, a Dominican priest who knew Mother Teresa very well, and he talks in that book about how Mother Teresa felt this desire to be nothing. This desire to be nothing in the eyes of God. This desire to be so humble that, like, it doesn't matter about you. Like, right? So that's kind of that nothingness maybe you felt. Like, you felt like nothing in that environment. Like, is that a desirable thing?
I think you grow to desire it. Mm-hmm. You start to see all the facades, all the masks, all the different comforts or pleasures or anything else you've put in place of true purpose in those moments, in those really difficult moments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think with that nothingness, there's that true freedom that Mother Teresa was able to experience and give herself fully to a cause that she gave, right? And maybe that's what's going on in the military, is they want you to be so nothing that you can give everything to the service of your comrades.
That was a lot of sacrifice, actually. Yeah. I've come to realize that a lot of things that, people get into, if they really give themselves to it totally, they will do it well. Yes. Just like, being a priest, you actually give up being a husband or a father. And the idea is just for you to concentrate on preaching the word, bringing people to Christ. If you actually concentrate on that, I think you will do very well. Mm-hmm. And taking it back to military, if you just the way they made you feel lonely, if you concentrate on like saving souls, not for Christ, but saving souls, you will do it very well. When at this point you weren't a Christian, right?
Yeah, I would say no.
Not really.
I think there's like glimpses of hope there. I wasn't an atheist.
Okay.
I was unsure. Yeah. What's that word?
Yeah.
Agnostic. Practical.
Agnostic.
Yeah, agnostic.
Yeah.
I was unsure.
You were like, there's probably a God, but I have no idea who that is and how that operates.
Just because of the experience you had before then, yeah. When did you actually get to a point where you were like, because I'm like, you're a burning flame right now. You might not know, but I think you are really embedded in the Word of God, being a true father you're supposed to be. when did it get to a point where, you were like a Christian, like a true Christian, where you can lead your kids?
Mm-hmm.
Was it in the middle?
I want to preface that with saying, like, I'm not done with my journey yet, so it's a journey, right? Constant conversion. But so my wife is actually the first one to break down the walls that I had built up to God. She's the first person in my life that I saw love selflessly without wanting anything in return. And that was, like, for lack of better words, that was weird to me. I didn't understand it. So you want nothing back, like she just gave and still gives. So that was my first experience of true, like, altruistic love, sacrificial love. And that softened me to it. She would only date and marry a Christian. And so I was like, yeah, I believe in God, so, like,
I'll say that.
What's your vote?
Yeah, we can do this. But it was the Army chaplain actually that really got me to open my eyes to the reality of God. So we did marriage counseling with him. Me and Sarah were actually dating and married in like 6 to 8 months. I don't know the exact timeline, but I want to say it was like 8 months. We had met previously at a place I didn't want to be, right? You said God used places we don't want to be. We met at a place that I did not want to be. I was getting in trouble, so my mom sent me to a Christian camp. And then me and Sarah met at the camp, and I didn't talk to her for 5 years. And I get deployed to Haiti for the earthquake. And my brother said, hey, there's this girl that you might remember from camp. She knows that you're in Haiti. She wants to talk to you about it. She wants to be a missionary there. And so that's how we started talking. So I get back from Haiti. We're dating and married within 8 months. 2 or 3 months after our wedding, I get orders to deploy to Iraq. And the chaplain said, you're still going to continue your marriage counseling. The only way that I'll marry you we got orders before, and we decided to get married before I left. The only way I'll marry you is if you continue your marriage counseling. So me and him met one-on-one during my downtime in Iraq to do counseling, to do marriage counseling. And it turned into discipleship, where he's like, this is what it means to lead your wife, to love your wife. And I had sins in my life at that time that were not okay as a man. But they're happening all over in the unit, and so all around you. And in my head at the time, I realized, like, there's no big deal. Like, what's the big deal?
So, you're in that environment where other guys aren't taking their marriages very seriously. How did that impact your perception of marriage? Obviously, you went to this marriage counseling. Were you kind of like, well, I want to do this, or maybe I want to follow along with the other guys? What was your thought process there?
Because of my experience as a kid in divorce, I didn't want to do what they were doing. I didn't. And so I was wounded enough as a boy, right, as a young man, to say no to this. To want better. To want better. My unit actually got investigated because we had, I think, an 80% divorce rate in our unit. Yeah. And so me and Sarah, as soon as I was up for reenlistment, wanted to get out but they want to let me leave, so I ended up leaving the military. But because of that, it was not a good environment. Couples sleeping with all kinds of disgusting things based on their own desires and pleasure and everything else. But to go back to the Christian part, in Iraq is where, one, your eyes are open to your own mortality, right? People are dying around you. Bombs are going off. Every so often they're shooting bullets at the guard towers, stuff like that. And so your own mortality your eyes are open to that for the first time. And that mixed with Sarah's love for me, the chaplain's love for me, stories of Iraqi Christians escaping and being killed and coming to base for safety. Or maybe not the base for safety, but refugees, right? Stuff like that. There's kind of a conglomeration of things that I said, okay, like I want to take this seriously. This discipleship thing, I want to take it seriously.
That's interesting. That's crazy.
Yeah. Would you say that there's an experience through your military days that really, obviously the marriage thing really prompted you to really consider Christianity for what it was worth. Were there experiences elsewhere in the military that made you feel like God exists, I need to follow him more closely? Were there, people, places that really stuck out to you that really pushed your journey forward?
Just off the top of my head, Haiti was a big one. Mm-hmm. So we were in Haiti after the earthquake. I think 500,000 or more died in Haiti.
It was a huge earthquake, yeah.
Crazy. 2010, beginning 2010, yeah. We were the quick reaction force at that time, and so I think we deployed in 36 hours. So we were from the start to finish on the ground in Haiti in 36 hours.
Wow.
But I'll never forget, we got off the plane to the smell of like burning bodies. They had nowhere to put these bodies, so they were starting to burn them. And it's the most disgusting smell of it. I'll never forget it. It's disgusting. So this just immense suffering. We go to bed that night and there's women screaming because they're being abused. There's just this immense suffering. And in that suffering, I remember waking up to like, sun was barely rising. So what's that called? Dawn, where the sun's barely rising, but it's not quite up yet. And in Creole, in their language, I'm hearing newsboys. Like, they're singing newsboys. So all the suffering is going on. They're waking up at dawn singing, I can't remember what song it is right now, but they're singing this song. And like, just that experience is, all right, even in suffering, they're praising God.
Whoa.
Even in this immense suffering, this worst time in their lives right now, they're praising God. So that's one of those like really eye-opening, okay, maybe this is real. Maybe this is real. I don't know, that's the first one that came to mind.
Yeah. It makes me also think about what happens in my country, where people are not very comfortable, compared to what we see here in the States, but they're very faithful people.
Yes, yeah.
With all the suffering, they're still seeking the face of God.
In Nigeria, I think I read a survey, like 90% of Nigerian Catholics go to church every single Sunday, whereas here in the United States, it's like something like 30-some%.
More like ceremonial thing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so like in Nigeria, where there's a lot of suffering and problems, maybe not as much as Haiti. Haiti's certainly certainly a problematic place in the world, but like despite these problems, they want to praise God more. Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it's all tied together, like
suffering. Yeah, I think suffering and Thanksgiving go together.
Yeah.
I remember talking to we were in missionary training school. I remember talking to a guy that served in China, and he said a tenet of the underground church is suffering. Like that's one of the tenets of their faith is suffering.
Mm-hmm. So, like bad experiences bring them closer to God.
We're called to suffer with Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does Paul say? St. Paul says, I make up in my body what is lacking in the cross. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Which is a crazy statement because, you would say, okay, what's lacking in what Jesus did on the cross? Yeah. But it's our participation. Like Jesus is calling us to slake his thirst, right?
Yeah.
Like, Mother Teresa talked about that, how we're here to really quench the thirst of Jesus. And what his thirst is for souls. Yeah. So if we're not uniting our suffering with the cross in light of trying to show people, hey, I can do this, this very hard thing with joy. Mm-hmm. If we can't show that, people will not see Christianity as a serious religion.
Yeah.
Because the reality of this world is there's going to be suffering.
Yeah.
But are we going to go into despair, or are we going to kind of try to be joyful in those moments? Try, right? You won't always be joyful.
Yeah.
And that's what Mother Teresa teaches us too with her.
Do you
with
think
her
that Christians are actually meant to suffer?
Are Christians meant to suffer?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think everyone suffers.
Yeah, everyone suffers, but Christians are in a particular way are called to embrace their crosses. We read about in Mark chapter 8, where Peter questions, essentially Jesus, because Jesus reveals that he's going to the cross, he's going to die, and all these things. Yeah. And what does Jesus tell Peter? Get behind me, Satan. You're thinking as humans do, not as God does. And we're called to think like God does as Christians.
Yeah.
And we're called to embrace the crosses that God gives us.
Yeah.
Because they're meant for our betterment and for the salvation of souls. But anyhow.
That's deep, though. But I think the difference in the suffering is the mindset, though. Mm. You know what I mean? Like, I know Paul said to live is Christ, to die is gain, something like that. But suffering as a Christian, should it be like a real suffering? Like,
Like a physical suffering, you're saying?
Yeah, like it doesn't really have to be like a physical suffering. Those suffering really qualifies you to be a Christian.
I see what you're saying. So you're trying to say, like, can you still be a Christian
and still not suffer?
And still not suffer, but handle the suffering well, because you can't avoid suffering.
You can't avoid suffering. I think everyone suffers. The levels of suffering are maybe not arbitrary, but I don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah. Are you actually saying?
Well, I think being a Christian, and considering Jesus Christ, who came from heaven to earth just to suffer, because from what I see, he came to suffer for our sins, and he said we should carry our cross and follow him. Mm-hmm. I think it's right. Christians are, somehow have their own crosses somehow. But I think the difference is how you carry your cross. Because he said, look up to Jesus, right? The right one would be when the serpent was like biting people in the wilderness. And was it Moses? Built up a serpent and told them to look up to the serpent that was sculpted like
on a pole.
Yeah, once you do it, you stop suffering. So, in as much that Christians are like on that road to suffering, I think the way we handle our suffering is the difference. If you look up to Jesus Christ, then you don't have to suffer because he's there to bear our burden. Yeah. So with that being said, I don't think Christians are meant to suffer if we cast our fears, cast our worries onto Jesus.
Well, I think I would qualify maybe with this. I would say we're called to suffer, but we're called to suffer differently. Do you agree with that? You would say that Christians are called to actually not suffer?
I mean, I know, I understand that we are in the world, but we are not of the world. Mm-hmm. And I also understand the fact that being a Christian, you're already a target. Like if you're a true Christian, considering what's happening now with Islamism and all that going on. But I still believe that if you look up to Jesus, you're not going to suffer.
I don't know. I guess that's the question, right?
It could come anywhere, like depending on what you call suffering.
So me and a guy next to me, he's an atheist, I'm a Christian. We both break our leg. Mm-hmm. Are you saying I'm not suffering because I'm a Christian?
No, that's different. That's different.
Or is it my perspective of what my broken leg means?
Well, let's leave the suffering thing for that.
We're getting real deep now.
Yeah, I think
philosophically,
because it depends on how you see it. That's the only thing I can say. Looking up to Jesus takes away your suffering.
I think looking to Jesus helps us endure our suffering.
That's suffering differently. That's the point now.
Yeah.
Because Jesus' example is no one takes my life, but I lay it down willingly. Mm-hmm. So if we're willingly entering into it, we're not suffering. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah. That's why he died in the first place. Mm-hmm. To bring us back to where we are supposed to be. Because we are not living our life, our potential the way we are supposed to. But Jesus Christ is trying to step us up to where we are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what people might see as being that you are suffering, but you are not suffering. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, in the eyes of men, it would be like, man, maybe this guy is suffering, but you're not.
So a Carmelite takes a vow of poverty, and there's a man homeless on the street and has no money. The Carmelite's not suffering because he's willing to enter into it?
Yes. He's not suffering.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think this is another conversation for another day. We're getting really deep philosophically, but let's go back to the military stuff. And maybe continue on the theme of suffering, though, like and sacrifice and the cross. Do you remember a moment in your military days where a fellow brother, sacrificed so much, and it made you think of like the ultimate sacrifice? Like maybe it was Iraq, maybe it was Haiti, some of your other experiences were there. Maybe I'm getting too deep in the waters. Can you think of a specific moment?
No, like we never, I mean, yes, there's these little moments where somebody takes, carries your weight for you, both literally and figuratively, right? There are those. I can't think of one specifically. The grace of God, we were spared. We didn't have any casualties, no fatalities when I was in Iraq. In my specific battalion, now we did lose people in our brigade. I would say, they made the ultimate sacrifice, right? Especially they're on a convoy out of Iraq and their truck gets hit and ours doesn't. And guys suffer from what's called survivor's guilt, right? What do I do? What is the purpose of life? Why did I survive and they didn't? There's all that comes into question. And we're not God. You'll drive yourself mad trying to figure those things out. So I can't think of one specific one. There's various examples at different times. We were in Haiti, so sure, I can share a story. One time we were in Haiti and we were pulling security for food distribution. And it wasn't us stepping in front of brothers, but standing on behalf of Haitians, right? There's guys that came and they started beating the elderly and getting them out of the way and stuff. And so we fought back. We without using weapons, we beat them back and won and detained them until we were done with the food distribution and handed them over to the authorities, but
Yeah.
It's violent, right? Violence is violent in the moment, but in that moment, it's for a greater good, right? So I don't want to glorify violence, but at the same time, we stood up for somebody else.
You had to do that. You had to do that in that moment.
Is there a point where you're being a Christian conflicts with what you're doing as a military dude, where you're in that conflict where should I do this? Does it all go well with my faith?
I don't know if I wasn't so deep into my faith at the time, but I never felt that way. I would say if you're in any kind of line of duty where you might be asked to take someone's life, if you're questioning that, you're a liability.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And so, if I'm a police officer and I'm questioning, can I take someone's life? You're a liability to everyone you're there to protect.
Whoa. Yeah. That's a solid one.
Yeah, and obviously we don't, as everyday citizens, we don't have to think about that, right? That's only something that the burden is only on soldiers and police officers.
Yeah.
You feel for them in that moment because that's a really tough spot to be in.
It is.
Yeah.
Like me as a nurse, practicing, I've been in a situation where my practice kind of conflicts with my faith, especially when it has to deal with a dying patient and the idea of administering some medication, some narcotics that might quicken
their demise.
Yeah. I find myself struggling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard place to be. Mm-hmm. Whereas I know a lot of people don't even care, but being a Christian, it's a tough place to be.
That gray zone, right?
Yeah, it's a gray zone.
Sarah was a labor and delivery nurse for a while, and she had that same question when they started talking about, are we going to offer abortifacients on our floor? And she's like, our job is to bring life into the world. Our floor is not to take life. Yeah, and she won the battle. She won the fight with the hospital on that one, but I was proud of her for it.
That's so sad
that they would even consider it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. So you're talking a little bit about, the conflict that most people are most familiar with is Iraq, right? We're not familiar with Haiti. Most people aren't, at least. And obviously Iraq was a very controversial war back home. How did you feel about that conflict when you were over there, despite, the controversy surrounding it?
I don't know, you just kind of do what you're told, I guess, as a soldier. So I didn't really think much about, do we need to be here? Do we not? You can judge me on that. I don't know. So, and I went so late, our job was to actually shut down a base in Ramadi. That was our job. And so, we went, we got rid of all the sensitive material, did all what we needed to do, and moved on. Yeah.
Do your job.
Yeah.
Do your job and move on.
It is different too, because I was a cannon crewman, and so we're never on the front lines, right? That's
the back.
Yeah, that's not what you're supposed to do. So the only rounds we shot were illumination rounds for guys that were going to clear houses. I think I don't remember what team it was, but we would shoot white phosphorus in the air and it burns super bright. So it's like daylight for a little bit and then they go and do their job. So I was never faced with, do I have to take this person's life or anything like that, which is, I look back on it now as a blessing, right? I don't have to live with that question of,
did you do it right?
Right. Yeah. You know,
Can't believe it.
Yeah.
Talk to guys, you know, I have a lot of close friends that did have to take people's lives and they still struggle with it, you know? So it's a hard question to answer, honestly.
I've had patients who have like PTSDs, like a lot of military dudes. How do people handle it? Like, speaking from a Christian perspective. I don't know if you have one. I pray you don't. Even if you do handle it well. But
well, everybody's PTSD is different.
Yeah.
Right? And so trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
And seeing somebody blow up is trauma to one person and
not to another person.
And not to another, right? Which is a weird thought. A car crash here is trauma to one person. And, you know, so the thing that so we lost somebody in the brigade, their convoy got hit, ours didn't. And so I struggle with that a little bit, the survivors thing. The survivors guilt of why them and not me, or why them and not somebody else, or so how do you deal with it? God's providence is huge. I just rest in the mystery of who God is, and He has placed me where I am for the time that He's called me, you know. And so I can, but if I question that, I'm going to drive myself crazy.
Yeah.
Some guys do, you know. Some guys do drive themselves crazy with that.
Yeah.
This may be a little off topic. It's on topic, but it's a different question. You know, some countries actually mandate that everyone serves in the military, especially men. Would you actually be behind something of that nature? Yes. You would be.
Without a doubt, I've thought about this a lot.
Mandate every man.
At least something. Go through boot camp.
Right.
I think young men today especially need to be challenged with something difficult and to come out of that difficulty stronger. To, like we were just talking about before we even got into this, about failing.
About what?
About failure, about failing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were talking about.
Don't even want to try anything because they're afraid to fail. Why? Like the only failure is quitting, right? That's the only true failure, is quitting. But yeah, I'm for that 100%. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be in combat arms, right? Everybody has their own. Just like in the charisms of the church, everybody has their own gifts. And so the military is really good at figuring out what you're good at.
What do you do best?
What do you do best? Right. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that. Like, should every man serve? And I've always kind of gone back and forth. But, you know, being in education now, I do see the value in that for young men. Because our men are not being challenged enough, not nearly enough.
I think being in Nigeria, I've already been in the military. I don't need it. I do not need it.
You've already been challenged enough, right?
Yeah.
And a challenge.
Dude, I had it.
Americans are not challenged enough, though.
No, yeah. I think for sure, I think people need to be challenged here. I think they're living an easy life. So sometimes I see what people complain about. Like, what?
Wild. Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
No. Almost like nothing.
It's first world problems. First world problems.
Yeah.
They have no idea what it's like to live in Nigeria or Haiti or Iraq.
Yeah.
You know, actually being threatened with your life because you're a Christian, right? That we don't even have that question here.
No.
Like we wouldn't even know you're a Christian because you don't act like it. Right? So it's completely it's peas and carrots.
Yeah.
They're so different from each other. But you know, kind of wrapping up this military conversation, what was it like to be done with the military? Were you upset? Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you kind of like, whatever, new phase of life?
I was excited at first. There's always that excitement of adventure, and so my excitement for adventure, I think, did come from the military. So I got to jump out of planes and shoot fully automatic weapons and shoot cannons, right? You know, like,
can you jump out of planes?
I can't. I'm not going to do it either. I'm never going to.
I got to do all the stuff that you dream about as a boy when you play cops and robbers. Like you get to, doing all that fun stuff. Yeah. And so the adventure side of, all right, I'm going to go do this thing was really exciting. I didn't struggle with it until I had my first like 2 babies, and I go from being an adrenaline junkie to changing butts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I actually struggled with that. Yeah. I struggled with wanting to be at home. Like, it sounds terrible. I didn't want to be home. And as bad as it sounds, like, my first kid felt like a burden. And it took me a while to change. Like, God is, like I said, it's a journey, right? I'm not, he said I'm this great Catholic man now, and I'm on fire for God. I really am. And I love that he said that, and I appreciate that. But it took a while to get there. It took suffering, and it took challenges, and it took opening my eyes to a greater reality, a different sacrifice than I was doing before. So I love my family, and I'm willing to sacrifice, in a way, even my own desires, even my own wants, right?
And that's what a true father should be, sacrificing for your family, whereas a lot of fathers these days are very selfish.
And that gets back to that military question. Everyone should serve because men need to learn how to sacrifice.
Sacrifice well.
Yes.
Yeah. But making somebody do it, is it a sacrifice? That's the question that you're getting into now.
That's a good question.
You're forcing me to do it. It's not a sacrifice.
Well, you kind of needed to, right? At this point in our culture, right? Because they're not being challenged enough in any kind of way. But you kind of got to it then. So, like, I guess share with to kind of wrap this up a little bit. What was that journey? Because you got home from the military, you were still Christian. What was that journey from being an evangelical Christian to ultimately being a Catholic? What was that like?
Just having neck surgery. Where is God in that thing, right? Where is God in the suffering? And when I sit and reflect on it, He's stripping me of things that I thought I needed. He's stripping me of my desire for this world to be heaven-bound instead of earth-bound. And if we do more reflecting in light of God instead of in light of our own suffering, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
He saved the best for last, man. Which still boils down to looking up to God.
Yes. Yeah.
In light of God, not the suffering.
And God being able to kind of make really great circumstances out of garbage.
Yeah.
Because I think we all mire ourselves in the garbage every once in a while. And sometimes we look back in our lives, there was a lot of garbage points, but God is able to kind of grab us from the garbage and